If you've ever heard "I love you" uttered with all the warmth of a glacier at midnight, you probably know that the way we say things is just as, sometimes even more important than what we're saying. But how do you decide how your brand should speak? What is brand voice? And how is it different from tone anyway? Today on Marketing is Broken, we've got brand voice expert and copywriter Justin Blackman, who has a lot to say on the subject. And just wait till you hear how he says it. And we're back with Marketing is Broken, the weekly series that you will watch if you know what's good for you. That thinly veiled threat was an example of tone of voice, and it's something you probably didn't expect from me, since by all accounts, I'm a pretty easygoing guy. Even my wife says so, right, Em? Hey, only I can break the fourth wall. Since I know you've watched every episode of Marketing is Broken, that shift in my tone just now probably threw you off. You've gotten used to hearing me talk in a certain way, and all of a sudden, I hit you with something different. It was jarring, right? Brands make this mistake all the time, because when you haven't clearly defined your brand voice, it's hard to know what that voice is. Unfortunately, if you miss the mark, it becomes very clear what it's not. Doug Kessler's excellent Velocity Partners article suggests that tone of voice shouldn't be a footnote. It should be at the forefront of B2B brand strategy, assuming you want to make more money and not toil in obscurity forever, that is. Kessler says a few things. Number one, voice isn't just a vehicle for your message. It is the message. Number two, your brand voice should signal trustworthiness, because things like scale, stone, and solemnity just don't do it anymore. And number three, you should build your brand voice like you'd create a perfume, with bass notes and accent layers that create something unique. Already, this stuff is more useful than the fluffy, here's how to use your logo guides we've all seen and possibly created. To take us even deeper into the nuances of creating a brand voice that's not only unique, but actually replicable, so that even if Patricia from marketing comes up with the voice of the brand and then happens to get hit by a bus, you could still publish new content, we're joined by brand voice expert and copywriter Justin Blackman. A lot of branding agencies have their own special process for developing brands, including tone and voice. But is there a basic process that any marketer can do to strengthen their voice?
Yes, there is. At its core element, your voice comes down to three different things. So you've got your vocabulary, which is your word choice. You've got your tone, which is the emotion behind every piece, and you've got your cadence, which is the rhythm. I like to remember this as the WTF framework. So your words, your tone, your frequency, and that's me playing with vocabulary right there. I went for a more humorous word choice, a different, more simple, relatable, memorable vocabulary.
Right.
But you've got a choice of being more complex, technical, punchy, bold, friendly. So that's your vocabulary. Your tone is your emotion. Some people are more joyful and optimistic. Others are more fear-based. Are you confident? Are you tentative? Are you analytical, sad, angry, hopeful? There's all these different emotions that you can put behind all of your pieces. It's the difference between saving them or helping them. Are you making claims? Are you making suggestions?
Hmm.
And then you've got your cadence, which is the rhythm of your writing. Are you short and punchy, or are you long, flowy, and write wordy bird sentences that go on forever? Once you become hyper aware of those elements, you just basically play a DJ and you dial them in until they sound and look just right.
Interesting. Okay, I hadn't thought about it in terms of those different mechanics. So do you use those mechanics to avoid sounding like other brands? So how do people get good at this without, sounding like maybe some other brands or just no brand in particular?
It's actually the identifying brands that you like is a great way of honing your own brand voice. But you do have to be careful not to get too close. And at the beginning, there's likely going to be a period where you do start to become a me too and you start to copy someone. The best way to avoid this is to find brands that you like from other industries and measure that vocabulary, tone, and cadence, and then adapt it into your industry. This way, you don't become an apples to apples comparison. But speaking of Apple, like if you wanted to look at if you wanted to sound like Apple, but let's say you are selling marketing as opposed to computers.
Sure.
If you look at Apple's homepage, there's only about 15 sentences on there, and I think there's only 3 commas on the entire page. And their average sentence is about 4 words. So you can take that word economy, that tight writing, and apply it to your style. And if you're not going head to head with Apple, then it's not as obvious.
So you can be the first Apple in a different category as long as you're not competing against Apple in their category. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so how do you know when you get your tone, quote unquote, right? Are there any metrics or reactions to look out for? When do you know it clicks?
There are. Typically, your audience will tell you when it's right. What they respond to means that you're on the right track, and then you can actually plot your vocabulary. Are you simple and basic, or are you more complex and technical? And then look at your cadence. So, are you writing this short, or are you writing long? Like if you're a life coach, you're probably going to be writing longer. You then plot your key spot on like an X and a Y axis between your cadence and your vocabulary length. And essentially you always want to try to hit that spot. And you actually can measure all this stuff. You can look at the grade level using the Hemingway app. There are tone analyzers. IBM Watson has one, which is great. And then you can also just do visual scans to see how your copy looks on the page. Is it long, or is it nice and tight? So you can use those metrics and identifiers to figure out if you've got it.
That's fascinating. I don't think I've ever thought about it in that much detail. Justin Blackman, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure to be here.
Have you clearly defined your brand voice? Or are you switching voices so fast your audience's heads are spinning? Let me know how you'll change your approach to brand tone in the comments. And send my love to Patricia. Hey, it's Josh from Brandish Insights. Thank you for watching Marketing is Broken. If you like this week's episode, please click below to subscribe or check out other episodes. And if your company could use more insights around your branding efforts, check out brandishinsights.com.